Alright, I lost my video on how to make a welt pocket, so I'm going to try and redo it on my boucle coat. This is the rose wee coat duplication pattern, and this is the fabric that I'm making my coat out of. What I've done so far, I've marked my pocket area, oops, wrong way, right here. Let's see if I can get in a little tighter for you. I've already marked my pocket area, and on the back what I do is to take a piece of interfacing and lightly in pencil I will mark the pocket opening. I like to go ahead, especially if the fabric is difficult to see the stitching line on because of the thread color, I like to go ahead and stitch along just the outer and the two outer lines here. Got a dog in the room. To secure it, and this is fusible interfacing. So I know how wide my pocket is. Now as far as the welt is concerned, I cut my welt double the pocket opening so that I can align my raw edge to the top of the pocket opening and then trim it down. This is basically a 5-inch opening. I made my welt 6 inches wide, so I would have a 1/2-inch seam allowance and a 1/2-inch seam allowance on each side. I sewed the sides of the welt, turned it, pressed it real good, and I've gone ahead and sewn it on top of the outside on the bottom of the welt because it's going to turn up like that. So you sew it on the bottom of the welt. The next part is doing the pocket bag, and we'll be back in just a moment for that. Okay, I'm using this lining fabric for my pocket bag, but what I've done, because it is so thin, I have lined it with an inner lining. This is the Tailor's Magic. So to give it a little bit more stability, because it's going to be used quite often, I went ahead and gave it some more structure with this inner lining. Excuse me. And then I pressed it in half. You're going to take this pocket bag. I'm going to put a pin about a 1/2 inch down from the fold line on each side. Now this is a 7-inch wide pocket bag, so if you go over here 1 inch on each side, you're going to get it right about correct. Now we need to go underneath it. Stick those pins in a little bit further. You're going to go underneath it. And put your pin from the inside. Don't put pins in your mouth like I do. Okay. Now you're going to take this pin and line it up with the corner of your mark over here, and over on this side, line it up with about how far that is over or up. I got a cat in here that's hollering at me. And then I'm going to pin mine horizontally and flip it back down. And look at where that is pinned, and it's right along that line. Now you're not going to sew from this side, so let's just go ahead and do some pins, and I'm going to put these small pins in this time. And I'm just going to pin it around the outside. Do your pins vertically this time. And then I'm pinning it down here. Here's your welt right here. So I'm pinning mine below my welt, vertically again. And then you're going to flip it over. All right, let's get into the sewing area. Now you're going to make sure that everything's nice and flat. Pull it out, make sure everything's nice and flat. And again, you're going to sew along just the outside, not the cross marks. You're not going to sew along the cross marks. You're going to sew along these lines here and here. And if you want to go slightly outside of your other stitching line, just to make sure nothing shows, that's perfectly fine. I tend to do mine just a hair's breadth outside of it. You might have to take some pins out if your fabric bunches a little bit. Just to make sure it's flat. And then we're going to do the other side. This is just a little bit wider. Make sure you mark it up, line it up at about the same place that your other one. For the cross mark. One more. We'll go back a little bit. Okay. Flip it over and look at it. We're going to have to go press it. All right, I'll be right back with the pressed item. All right, it's all been pressed up. Now we need to cut into it, and what I do is just kind of double it up right here in the center. Make a little snip. Now I want to kind of get close in here so you can see what I'm doing. make sure your entire pocket bag is flipped up. And you're going to cut in the center until you get about a 1/2 inch away from the edges. And then you're going to snip diagonally right to that stitching line. You need those little diamond shaped wings. Now you're going to end up cutting part of the welt this way, which is fine because you're going to trim it out. I never can keep this tape measure around my neck. All right, let's back up some. Okay, we've got this cut. Now we're flipping it to the inside. Turn it around. Now we need to press it. And on the inside, pull it out at those wings. Okay, let me go press and I'll be right back. Don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Flip this up. There's your little triangle. We're going to line up the edges and capture that triangle in there. This is where we're stitching up the pocket bag. Oops, I got my skin. You're going to line up your triangle. I'll use my smaller pins. Line the edges of your pocket bag up. Stretch it out a little bit if you need to. This has got to be turned. Turned. And all of that flipped over. Capture your triangle. Line up your sides. Now what you're going to do very carefully, and it's sometimes a lot easier, no bothers, if you go ahead and get your zipper foot out, so you can get in real close to that edge. What I like to do is to go ahead and sew down each side first. That way I know that I'm hitting my triangles. And then stitch across at the bottom. So you're going to have 3 stitching lines, but you're going to back tack on. So let's start over here. Squeeze them a little bit. Okay, there's one. Get your pin out. Cut your threads. And make sure that the body of your garment is out of the way when you do this. Flip it over this way. Yes, you know I work in a small space. I should have done this before I attached the side front to the center front, but I still wasn't quite sure if it would work on this fabric. So I didn't. Okay, now I need to move my zipper foot over to the other side so I can get in real close to that triangle. Sometimes you have to feed it. Take your pin out because that's bunching. Now at this point, you could turn it and sew the rest of your bag. Be a little bunched up, but it's the pocket bag and I'm not going to worry too much about that. Just stretch it out a little bit as you go. There we go. It's not too awful. Take this off because we're going to need the other foot again. I made these little boxes for my bobbins and feet. So that looks nice. You can get your hand in there. We can trim that up later. Next, we're going to zigzag the welt to the sides. That'll help stabilize it. I put it in the middle, and I'm going to go a little bit into the middle of the horizontal part and then back stitch. This fabric is going to require that. I'm so glad I'm sewing again. I've been sitting and watching CNN News since President Trump was elected. And it's just starting to make me mad. I hope he's a good president, but I don't like him tweeting. The tweets that he does is just rude. And I'll go in the middle of the, where I'm putting the bar. Let's put a pin there, just to stretch it out a little bit. There. Go in the middle, back tag up. I keep my pins separated. And there we have it. A beautiful welt pocket. Now this one's at a slant. I did that on purpose. We have a beautiful welt pocket there. All right, that's all there is to it. Go ahead and trim up your pocket bag if you want to. I'm not going to, simply because mine is interlined anyway. That's going to pretty much keep it from raveling. I might go ahead and trim it up here. Yeah, let's go ahead and trim. All right. There we go. Beautiful welt pocket. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a great night. See you later.